Hi everyone, go ahead and open Module 8, August Services and Payments on page 223. And the first thing we'll do is click in G6 and create a formula. So with the formula, it's complex formula, meaning it has two math operations. What we want to do is take the service amount billed plus the previous balance and then subtract the payment received. So the service, the current service, then the previous balance, add those two together, and then subtract a payment that was received. So in G6, start with equals, and then we'll click D6 plus E6 minus F6. Your formula shows up in the current active cell, and it also shows up in the formula bar. You can press the check mark for enter, or if you press enter, it takes you down to the next cell. You just have to click back into it, hover over the fill handle, and go ahead and either drag or double click, and it fills all the rest of them for you. And if you look at the formula bar, it'll be the same, column D plus E minus F. The only thing that changes is the row, and that's called relative cell reference. The next thing we're going to do is click in H6, and we're going to create a formula on finding out how much the labor cost based on the service amount billed. And if you look over on the bottom, labor fee rate is 30% of this service amount billed. So the formula is equals the service amount billed, $215, times the star or asterisk, and then select B17, that 30%. And again, you can use check mark or enter, and then fill handle. Now you should get some totals that are not there, and I'll explain why. So if you click in the very first one where you created the formula, you notice that it's D6, that $215, times B17. When I press the down arrow, the next cell's formula will be D7, but it's picking up at B18. The next one is D8, B19. So it started at the B17 and thought you wanted to go from there, B17 consecutively, B18, B19. But we didn't. We wanted it to always stay at B17. So I'm just going to click undo so we get back to our original formula. Click up here in the formula bar, so right after the B17. On your keypad you have function keys. They're labeled F1, F2, F3. Press the F4. And that'll put a $sign in front of the B and a $sign in front of the 17. And what that does, it locks it in that it'll never leave column B and never leave row 17. So it'll always look at this cell. That's called absolute cell reference. So now I'll click the check mark and then go ahead and do my fill handle, and now I have proper totals. And if we look at the formulas, the first one is a relative cell reference. It'll be D6, D7, D8, but the other one, the absolute cell reference, will always be B17. So if I were to change the labor fee rate to 20%, all I do is type 20. Once I press enter, all these labor costs will change. Nice. Now we're just going to sheet 2 for a minute, so go ahead and click sheet 2, and then click in B11, and again we want the total of the lawn care service prices, and instead of clicking auto sum or my favorite shortcut alt equals, what we're going to do is type the equals and then type SU. And when you type that, different variations of formulas come up, and we want sum. So I'll double click sum, and it automatically finishes the word sum and puts the parentheses in for me. And now I just select the range, hold and drag, and then I don't even have to close the parentheses. I can just press enter and I'll get the total. The next one is the number of items. And it just wants to count how many items there are, and there's just 6 services. Again, I don't want you to just type it. There's actually a formula, because if this was lots and lots of rows of information, you'd want it to count for you. So you're in B12, click the down arrow next to auto sum, and it's called count numbers. The range is just doing one extra one on the total, we don't want that. So I'm just going to reselect so that it's B5 through B10 and then enter. So when I look in the formula, I see the 6, but I'm going to be looking up here for your formula. All right, let's go back to sheet 1, and we're going to click in B19, and we're going to put in a, today's date. Again, we don't want to type it because when we open this up a week from now or a month from now, we want current date. So in B19, click Formula, Date and Time, choose Today, and OK. And you'll have today's date. Now we'll click into J6, and the payment due date is going to be 30 days from the service date. So go ahead and press equals, and then I'm just going to press the left arrow, and that should select I6 for me, plus 30. And then again, I'm going to use the check mark and then the fill handle. And everything is 30 days from the service date. Now click in C15 and type the word average with a colon. And then what we're going to do is select D6 to D14. And you get that quick analysis button. Go ahead and click that. Choose totals, and we actually want the average of all of these customers. And notice it comes in bold, and what it did is it added all of these up and divided by as many customers as there are. Go ahead and click into that total that you already have, the average, and use your fill handle. Go sideways as well and go all the way to column H. Now we'll work with statistical information. So click in J17. So the largest amount billed, and that's based on column D. You can tell by looking at it quickly that it was $375. But if we had a lot of rows, you would want it to look for you. So go ahead and click into J17. If you're in the Formulas tab, you can use this down arrow for AutoSum. And maximum is the same as largest amount, so go ahead and click that. And the range is D6, do not take the average, to D14. D6 to D14, enter. Should be the $375. Now we'll do the smallest amount billed, and again, AutoSum down arrow. Smallest is the same as minimum, and again, the range is the D6 to D14, enter. Now we're looking for the average labor cost, so that'll be column H. And again, the down arrow for the AutoSum, average, and select your range G6 to G14. I'm sorry, H6 to H14, and it should be 3167. And then if I click into your average labor cost, I see the formula up in the formula bar. Same thing for the smallest amount and the maximum. The word average in C15, and let's put that in bold as well. So click the Home tab and put it in bold, and then select that range all the way to H15. And what we're going to do is add a color. Click the tipped over paint bucket, and we're looking for orange. Orange accent 6, lighter 80%, and then also choose to the left of that the borders button and choose all borders so that you get a box around all of that for the average. Now we're going to do what's called conditional formatting to make certain values stand out. So select D6 to D14. Remember not to take the average. And then you'll choose the quick analysis button, and then you'll preview the color scales. And again, it shows the lower amounts in red, the lighter green is the average, and the darker green is the largest amount. So I'm going to select them again, go back to quick analysis. That was color scales. I can clear it and then go back to quick analysis and try data bars. Data bars show shading throughout the cell, and of course the more filled it is, it's the larger amount. Less filled is a smaller amount. I'll go back to quick analysis, clear it, go back to quick analysis again. So I've done the color scales, data bars. Now I'll try icon sets, and those are just arrows, red indicating the lower amounts, and the green arrow is the highest amount and the yellow is the medium amount. Again, I'll go back to the quick analysis and clear it. So I only had 3 choices when I was using the quick analysis. What we're going to do this time, so with the rows D6 to D14 selected, instead of doing the quick analysis, you can go to conditional formatting, and those 3 options appear: data bars, color scales, and icon sets. In the data bars, you have more color choices, not just the blue. There's gradient, which means it goes from darker to lighter, and then you have solid fill. I'm just hovering to see what they look like. If I go to color scales, you have different theme colors. I'm just hovering over to show you. My favorite are the icon sets. You have directionals, you have shapes, you have indicators, flags, you have stars for ratings, quarters, bars. You have lots of different options. The book is looking for data bars, green, the gradient green. Okay. Then we're going to select G6 to G14. And this one we're going to set a value that you're looking for a specific color on a certain value. So you've selected G6 to G14. Again, you're not taking the average. And you're going to choose conditional formatting. And it's under the highlight cell rules. And you're going to choose greater than. You'll type in the amount 200. You don't need any dollar signs or decimals. And you want to take the width, light red fill with dark red font, and then click OK. And there should be 3 of them that are greater than 200. So now what we'll do is we'll select A5, so select word customer, and drag all the way to J14. Notice we're not taking the average row, so A5 to J14, and we're going to place this in what's called Format as Table. So click Format as Table, and we're looking for light, medium, dark. We're looking for Table Style Light 9, and it should be Table Style Light. Oops, if you hover over it, you'll see it. Table Style Light 9. It's a blue style in the second row. So we'll select that one. And it's asking you, is the range correct, A5 through J14, which it is. Make sure My Table Has Headers does have a check mark, and then click OK. So what it did is it put the table into the blue, because that's the color we chose. But what it also did for each column is it gave us a little box with an arrow in it, and we're going to be working with those so we can make some changes within the table, whether it be sorting or filtering. So you did need those in the table format in order to do the following steps. So after you're looking at this table, we did do an average back a little while ago, but we actually never did a column total. We have averages for each of the columns, but we never did a total column. So to do that, make sure you're inside the table anywhere, doesn't matter where, and you're going to click up in the top in the Table Tools Design. There is a box labeled Total Row. Go ahead and click that. It automatically puts one in there for you. The only thing, if you scroll over to the right, it puts a total in the date, which we don't need for the date. So click in that cell, J15, and just press delete. We should have a total in D15. So if you click D15, there's a little arrow that appears. Click that down arrow and choose Sum. You want it to add everything in that column. And then, again, you don't have to do it for every single column. You can just use your fill handle and go all the way across to H. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sort by town. So if you look in column C, it has the towns. We want them in alphabetic order. So if you click this down arrow in the column C, you can choose to sort A to Z. And you should have Betcherfield first, and then Crawford, and Springtown. Also, what shows now is an up arrow indicating that it's sorted alphabetically. So the next thing we want to do is we have it right now sorted alphabetically, and if you look over to the service amount billed.